A boat trip through Hamburg's harbor is one of the Hanseatic city's main attractions. Hamburg is the third largest port in Europe.
The port was built in the 1870s.
That's the period when the free port was created within the port itself. Here, Hamburg's merchants enjoyed the privilege of storing, refining, and processing imported goods duty-free. It was the birth of the Speicherstadt, or warehouse district, 1.5 kilometers in length. Workers used small boats to bring cargo to the warehouses. Until the 1960s, it was mostly coffee, tea, and spices. But by the 1980s, the Speicherstadt had become the world's largest transshipment point for Oriental rugs. Fourth-generation carpet dealer Parvis Zandvakili has storerooms on the 5th floor. He still moves his wares using rope winches, more than 100 years old.
It takes much longer than loading pallets onto a truck with a forklift, but it has its charms.
In the warehouses, with their thick brick walls, the climate remains moderate all year round. That still works well today.
This leads to the rear and our emergency exit that's more than a century old, via a fire escape. It's not well lit, but it's still used and serviced regularly. I hope I never need it.
Nowadays, Zandvakili looks down at tourists below. 20 years ago, the Speicherstadt was a world of its own.
This was once a self-contained space. There were customs barriers everywhere, and ordinary people were afraid to come here.
The barriers were removed in 2004, and the warehouse district became a huge tourist attraction. 1 million visitors come here every year.
It's lovely. It's our second trip to Hamburg. The buildings are great and the colors are different than in other cities. It's unique.
In one warehouse that dates from 1888, the Speicherstadt Museum informs visitors about the district's history.
What's special about the Speicherstadt is that it's a city of warehouses, the world's largest warehouse complex. The architects back then really designed it as a city. We actually had city gates.
The warehouse district was a huge project. Back then, 2 city districts were demolished. About 16,000 people had to be resettled. And new canals were built. The brick buildings are attractive and functional and rest on long wooden stakes. In the 1920s, bordering the Freeport, the merchants had the Kontorhaus district built, the first dedicated office district in continental Europe, with gigantic administrative buildings. Architect Fritz Hoger's Chile house is world-renowned for its shape and brick facade.
This is really something unique in a European city, that since the late 19th century, the center has developed into a city itself, a service sector district where the population was replaced by warehouses and offices.
The Speicherstadt and Kontorhaus district bear witness to more than 130 years of maritime trading history. The people of Hamburg are proud of that, and they're waiting expectantly for UNESCO's decision.